In a recent video, we talked about the Jedi sect that was most vulnerable to the dark side, the Jedi Guardians. Having covered that, we feel it's only fitting we cover the opposite angle, the Jedi sect that was the least vulnerable to the dark side and the most dedicated to the ideals of the Jedi Order. So, which of the Jedi were the most dedicated servants of the Force? That was, of course, the Jedi Consulars, one of the most renowned Jedi subgroups.
Attention, Sergeant on deck!
We've discussed the three main Jedi sects before, so we'll only do a quick recap this time. There were the Jedi Guardians, who focused on honing their physical skills, the Jedi Sentinels, who were more technical and brought the darkness to light, and the Jedi Consulars, who focused on the living force and more cerebral abilities. Each had plenty of prominent Jedi members, and traditionally, each made use of a specific color of a lightsaber crystal, with blue representing the Guardians, yellow representing the Sentinels, and green representing the Consulars. We've done videos on the Jedi Sentinels and the Jedi Guardians before, and today we're going to round the list off by discussing the Consulars. Some of the greatest Jedi in the history of the Order were Consulars. From the Order's early days, Consulars made up a plurality of all Jedi Masters, and the Order's chroniclers and historians were almost exclusively Consulars. Oden Aaron Kay, Nomi Sunrider, and Satil Shen were all legendary Consular Masters, with the latter two, in particular, having been responsible for rebuilding the Jedi Order after times of crisis. Many Grand Masters were Consulars, including, once again, Satil Shen, Faye Kovan, and, of course, the legendary Master Yoda. During the Clone Wars era, notable Consulars that weren't Yoda included Luminara Unduli, Barriss Offee, Kit Fisto, and Shakti. More than any other Jedi, Consulars preferred to find non-violent solutions to their problems. In particular, they were known all over the galaxy as amazing negotiators, fully capable of ending decades-long wars without even drawing their lightsabers. It should be noted that this wasn't just because of the Consulars' skill with the Force. Consulars took the stoic calm that the Jedi strived towards and applied it to all aspects of life, including negotiation. This allowed them to be rational and cool-headed even in the midst of the most heated of debates, which frequently enabled Consulars to calm the involved parties and bring them to a peaceful settlement. Consulars were much less eager to turn to violence than Guardians or Sentinels. As Jedi Master Dorak once put it, where a Guardian would cut down a door that stood in their way and a Sentinel would try and pick the lock, the first instinct of the Consular would simply be to knock. That's not to say that the Consulars were lightweights when there was fighting to be done, however. Some of the most devastating lightsaber duelists in the Jedi Order's history, including Kit Fisto and Shakti, were Consulars, even though their philosophy placed the lowest emphasis on lightsaber combat of the three sects. Jedi Consulars actually had their own exclusive Jedi Council, the Council of Reconciliation. The 5 greatest Consulars served on the council, and they often worked directly with the Galactic Senate to ensure peaceful solutions to conflicts. The Council of Reconciliation also worked closely with the Republic Diplomatic Corps. The council regularly sent Consulars to accompany Diplomatic Corps personnel during particularly tense periods of negotiation, both as protectors for the Republic ambassadors and as ambassadors themselves. Study of the Force was paramount in the life of the Jedi Consular. As a rule, they were more proficient in Force techniques than Sentinels or Guardians, as they devoted much more time to mastering them. Most Consulars also knew at least a few techniques that many Sentinels and Guardians hadn't even heard of, which they could always find creative ways to use. Some Consulars devoted themselves to a particular aspect of Force use, like telekinesis, telepathic abilities, or foresight, and ultimately became capable of developing new techniques of their own. Darth Vader once remarked that the power to destroy a planet was insignificant next to the power of the Force. We've all heard that line before, and yet we forget it all too easily. Even those Jedi Consulars who weren't skilled with the lightsaber were incredibly powerful in combat, for they not only tended to have a high mastery of basic Force techniques, but most also knew many obscure techniques as well. Consulars could use the Force to prevent themselves from feeling pain, create illusionary duplicates of themselves, or block the Force powers of an enemy. A Consular particularly skilled in battle meditation could direct an entire battle telepathically, granting the underdogs an unexpected victory. Nothing was impossible with the Force, and the Force was the Consular's ally. They also had more specializations than the other two sects. This diversity of roles was possible because the Force skills of the Consulars were useful for a wide variety of tasks, from healing to divining prophecy. Additionally, the rank of Jedi Master was traditionally seen as being tied to Consular beliefs. Just as Jedi Guardians were held up as the quintessential image of the Jedi Knight, Consulars were the quintessential image of the Master. Jedi Ambassadors and Jedi Diplomats were two very similar specializations of the Jedi Consular role. Both worked closely with the Republic. Ambassadors served as the face of the Republic on far-flung worlds. Some even took up jobs as personal advisors for senators or the Supreme Chancellor. Jedi Diplomats, on the other hand, were more direct, making treaties and ending conflicts on their own instead of acting as mere intermediaries between the Senate and third parties, as the ambassadors usually did. Both, of course, were highly skilled in negotiation and in telepathic Force techniques, which they usually used to gauge the feelings of others. Jedi Sages were a bit more combat driven. They focused on using the Force in aggressive negotiations and their lightsabers if need be. The umbrella term Jedi Researcher covered a wide variety of Jedi Consular specializations focused on scholarly research in specific topics. Types of Jedi researchers included biologists, linguists, geologists, astronomers, and archaeologists, though there were likely many others. Researchers were mostly devoted to the expansion and maintenance of the vast amounts of data stored in the Jedi archives, which they regularly made sure was up to date. Working closely with the researchers, the Lawkeepers were some of the oldest roles in the history of the Jedi Order, dating back to the Force Wars of Tython. This specialization included the roles of archivist, librarian, and historian. The Lawkeepers made sure that the information gathered by the Jedi researchers was filed away properly and worked tirelessly to preserve the contents of the Jedi archives. During the Old Sith Wars, it was the Lawkeepers who were responsible for the survival of much of the Jedi Order's knowledge, which they safely sequestered from the Sith after the destruction of Jedi temples on Ossus and Dantooine. One of the most revered Jedi specializations, Jedi Healers had only one job: to save lives. They were quite good at it too, for the Force enabled them to heal wounds that not even Bacta could treat. Force healing was a fairly common Jedi technique, but only the healers were good enough to use it to full effect. Though the healers couldn't save everyone, they were still remarkably good at bringing critically wounded beings back from the brink of death. The Jedi healers were so skilled that the Jedi Temple's halls of healing were connected via a high-speed transport to Coruscant's largest hospital. Regularly, patients that the doctors could do nothing for were sent to the healers, who gave them second chances at life. Lastly, the Jedi Seer was also a specialization of the Consular sect. Seers were very rare, but they had incredible potential, for they were more in tune with the unifying Force than most Jedi. This allowed them to better see and understand the future. Seers regularly had powerful Force visions, either in their dreams or in waking life. Because of this, they were essentially the Jedi Order's first line of defense, able to foresee danger when it lurked on the horizon. Usually, when Seers had visions, they made records of what they saw and sent it to other Jedi for interpretation. However, a select few, dubbed Jedi Prophets, were able to fully understand their visions and thus write prophecies about future events. Jedi Consulars may not have been as glamorous as the Guardians or as cool as the Sentinels, but we would argue that, of the three Jedi sects, they were actually the most important. It's one thing to directly battle injustice and another thing to actively prevent injustice. It's easy to heap all the praise on the Jedi who were out there ending wars, but we should also take care to remember the Jedi who made sure there were fewer wars to begin with. Saving lives should count for more than taking lives, and the best way to save a life is to prevent it from needing saving in the first place. So that's our look at the Jedi Consulars, the most dedicated sect of the Jedi Order. But what do you think? Which of the 3 Jedi classes is your favorite? Feel free to let us know your thoughts and more in the comment section below. As always guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.